Welcome to Session Sunday. Hi guys, it's Jack Edwards and today's session is going to be focusing on compact defending. But before we get into today's video, make sure to give us a like and subscribe, and if you missed last week's session, click on the link above. Okay, so moving into the first part of this week's session, we're looking at a defensive drill working on both our individual defending and then our working as a unit defending as well. So we're starting off with how many players we've got this week. We've got 17 players including our goalkeeper this week. You can adapt that easily if you've got less players. So if you have, let's say, 15 players, you can just take one out of each side, or you could take two out of each side, so it just means more players getting more repetitions. What we've got right now, we've got players getting a lot of rest because after one group's had a go, the next group will have a go. So we're going to be starting off with 1v1 defending, but our setup for this part of the session is we've got 20 yards of depth all the way throughout, and then each individual box here, 10 yards is each, so we've got 20 by 40 box, which will come into play even more when we start taking out different areas of the pitch, but it's going to stay 20 yard depth every time, but the width will just increase when boxes get removed. So we're going to be starting with the reds defending, and the blues going to be attacking. So we're going to be starting off with 1v1 defending. Each red is going to have a ball. So the equipment that we need for this part of the session is balls, bibs and cones. You can even just put one team in bibs and one team in non-bibs. Our goalkeeper here is used for the defenders. So when the defenders win the ball, if they still have the ball in their box, they can try and clip a ball into the goalkeeper. So when they've won the ball, they're clipping the ball down the line, playing into the striker's feet. But if the ball goes out the box, then the ball's dead, we're finished and we can go back to the start. So how it starts with the defenders all have a ball, they play into the attacker. As soon as that attacker's took a touch, get in and cover the ground quickly. Okay, restrict the attacker's space, make it predictable where we want them to go. Okay, so they've only got 10 yards of width to attack against us, so try and decrease as much space as possible that they can have. Okay, so put pressure on the attacker early. If we're slow getting there, we're inviting the attacker forward, which means they can gain pace, and it means that they can change direction quicker than what we are. But if as soon as they've took that first touch, if we're in nice and quick, okay, we're putting the attacker on the back foot. They've got to think more quicker. It tests their decision making. How are they going to try and take us on? What skill are they going to use? And then it's about knowing the player who you're playing against. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at is it a left footer? Show them on the right foot. If it's a right footer, show them on the left foot. Where do they usually like to turn? Are they quick at turning? Are they not good at turning? Are they good at knocking the ball past somebody and running after it? Okay, so it's knowing the player that you're playing against and then using that ability and the awareness to defend against that person. Once the play's finished, so let's say the Reds have won it back and played into the goalkeeper, the Reds just go back to their own box and the next player comes up to defend. The attackers move one place to the right. This is so that the defenders are coming against different types of attackers. So this player might be right-footed, left-footed. This player might be the paciest player in the team. This player might be the slowest player in the team, but is the most skillful. Okay, so they're not coming up against the same player every time. So it's not too easy for them then because they get to know where the attacker's going to move each time. So the player will move to the right, move to the right, move to the right each time. So then the attackers and the defenders are coming up against different people as well, which is testing for them. After a couple of minutes, swap over, get both teams defending. Where you can get in as a coach here is looking at the details. Are they covering the ground quickly? Have they got a low body position when they're trying to defend so they can turn quickly? So when the attacker is turning from left to right or right to left, we're still able to do it nice and quick and try and intercept the ball because that's a good chance for us to do as well. When they're getting closer to the line, which is what the attackers are aiming for, the attackers are just aiming to dribble it across the line. That's a point for them. As they get closer, that's when we've got to engage. Okay, so in here we can make it difficult for them, we can make it predictable, but as they start travelling closer towards us, we've got to look at, right, when do we start to engage into the attacker and try to win the ball. We will now move into our first animation before moving on to the first progression of this part of the session. Okay, so now we're moving into our first progression of this part of the session. We've now just took out the middle zone in each half. Okay, so now we've just got 2 zones. So now we're looking at 2v2 defending, which means we're working a little bit more as a unit. We've got to travel together. We've got to stay together as a unit as well. And we've got to work out how to intercept the ball as a unit as well. So the ball will start with one of the 2 defenders. They can switch it to either player that they like. They can play straight up or they can play diagonally across. So we play across. As soon as they took that touch, up we get as a unit. But what we've got to make sure is the man who's closest to the ball is the player who's highest, okay? Because if this player's got the ball and this defender is higher, that means that this attacker here has got the run to play through and it's easy, okay? It's easy to play through. What we've got to make sure is that when this player's got the ball and are travelling forward, that this player is always deeper. Okay, so it's harder for this player to receive the ball. So if they do try and play to this player, then we can look to go and engage quickly when the ball's travelling. We don't need to go whilst that player's still got the ball. So this is when we need to know our players again. So if this player is a left footer, this defender knows I'm going to show him down the line. Because why? Because he's not going to be as comfortable going down this side on his right foot. There's less space as well, and also his option's going to be cut off. The only way that his teammate can get the ball is if he comes across him, which means we've got our defender in here as well, and there's less space, so there's more chance for us to intercept the ball. Again, looking at when we engage as well, so we've got to get and travel as a unit together. If one player travels fast and gets there quickly, but the other player is sluggish and behind, then they've got to pass on straight away and they're already closer to the goal or to the line, what they're aiming for, straight away. So we need to restrict the space as much as we can for the attackers. Same again when they win the ball back, the goalkeeper is still on to clip into, or if the ball's near the sideline and the tackle and it goes out, then the ball's dead, but the defenders have won the ball, so they've done the job. And then the same thing happens again with the attackers. After they've had their go, they will move to the right. Okay, so they just swap over with the other team there, so they're going against different defenders each time, which is what we want to see, that they're testing themselves against other players. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to the final progression for this part of the session. Okay, so moving into the final progression for this part of the session, we're now moving into a 4v4 scenario. So now we're defending as a unit. So what we have now is that the goalkeeper is on this side with the defenders and we've put a goal in. Okay, so it's something for the attackers to aim towards now. So when they're attacking, they're looking to score by the goalkeeper. So the defenders who aren't playing will stand a couple of yards back so that they're not in the way once the attackers trying to score. We still have our 20 by 40 box, but the attackers can shoot from anywhere really. This is just where the defenders are going to start on this line. So same again as normal, we're playing into the attackers and then we're looking to get up as a unit in relation to the ball, our position. Okay, so if the ball's central, the right back isn't going to be all the way over here where they used to be in their zone. They're going to be nice and tight, close to the centre back, close to the centre midfielder if it's a winger as well. And then when they start travelling, the man who's nearest to the ball will be the one who puts the pressure on. Okay, so it's in relation to where your man is as well. So if they're going to be attacking as a 4 at the start, so know who you're marking. Okay, where's that good player going to be? You don't need to be too tight because we're leaving space for somebody else to run into. We don't want to be too deep because when the ball travels, we're too far away from it as well. We just want to make sure that we're in the right position all the time and preventing passing lanes and preventing space in behind for them to run onto. Also to dribble into as well, because all it takes is a player to run out either side and we've got space to run into to then pass the ball and then play through. So it's making sure that we're putting enough pressure on to make it difficult for the attackers, make it predictable for us to defend, and then a chance for us to win the ball back. So when to step, when to drop, and when to hold as a unit as well. We're not going to be dropping too much in this part of the drill because we haven't got that much depth as well. We want to apply pressure quickly, but when the attackers first get the ball, where are we going to show them? Where do we want them to go? Can we send them into areas where we want to win the ball back? So we're trying to delay them at first and then looking to engage. And also we're trying to cover that ground quickly, so when the ball does go across into a wide area, can we make it difficult for them to get out? Okay, so this player's putting the pressure on. Again, if it's a left footer, can we get round and show them on the right foot? Show them the line, can we win the ball with support from our teammates as well? Okay, so with it being a 4v4 scenario, after we've finished, the players just go back to their normal line. The Blues can swap positions, so the player who started central might go to the right, the other player who started central might go to the left, just to change things up, to change their positioning up. But the defenders, we kind of want them to stay where they're comfortable as well. We will now move into our final animation before moving on to the next part of this week's session. Okay, so looking at this week's four corner model, starting off with technical and tactical, we've already spoken a lot about restricting space. It's one of the main ones for us today, restricting space for the attackers, okay? Making it difficult for them to attack us because they haven't got as much space, so it's forcing them into decisions early. And then we're looking at delaying and support. So delaying the attacker when they get the ball, slowing them down, showing them into areas where we want them to go, not showing them to come and attack us, okay, because it makes us difficult when we're on the back foot, pedaling back. If we're on the front foot, we've covered that ground quickly and we've got that low body position to turn, and we're delaying the attacker so then we can get support across from our teammates, because if the ball is switched quickly and all it takes is one person out of position, we have to then delay the attacker to stop their attack progressing. Compactness, so making sure throughout with our unit that we're all sliding across together, we're all screening the passes, we all know what player we're pressing and stepping onto, we all know when we're step, dropping and holding as a unit. So when the ball travels higher, then we're going to step. When the ball's moving side to side, then we're going to hold. When the ball's coming towards us and we're trying to just contain the space in behind, we're going to drop, okay? And then we've got to know when to engage as well. A lot of discipline is needed, because if we're going in and trying to win the ball too early and being too hasty, then the attackers are going to get the little breaks. Then if they do get them, we're out of position and we're looking at a lot of recovery runs and players getting pulled out of position, which means that attackers have got space to run into and we can give away chances. So then awareness, positional and spatial awareness. So again, our body position, which we speak about, making sure we can see the player and the ball at all times. So if I'm a left back and the ball's on the right side of the pitch, I'm tucked in nice and close to my centre back. I can see the ball on that side, but I can also see where the right midfielder might be. The right midfielder might be staying wide, okay, to give the attacking team width. But if I'm already out there with the attacker, that means there's lots of space inside the pitch for midfield runners. And also, if that player is a little bit faster than myself, I need to give myself a bit of yards to get across and cover that ground a bit quicker. Whereas if we're standing on a stop-start position, they might get the run on us as well. And then finally, concentration. So making sure that we're always aware of where the ball is, always aware of where our players are, and concentrating on, right, where do we need to be? Where does our line need to be? So taking command of it as well, of situations depending on where you are on the pitch. So if you're a central midfielder, you need to get your wingers in nice and tight, okay, but also being focused on the ball and then focused on the players around you as well. So it takes a lot of concentration to be able to do this for a long period of time. Moving into the physical corner, first off looking at strength, we want to be strong and powerful to win that ball back from the attackers, making it difficult for them when they've got the ball. It doesn't have to be really physical as in we're trying to be nasty, it's about being clever, okay? So putting our arms on the attackers to make them feel uncomfortable, okay? All it takes is little taps, little nudges to make them feel uncomfortable, make them lose a little bit of balance, so when they're trying to turn, it's not as effective and we can win the ball back. Speed to cover the ground quickly, okay? So there's no point covering the ground quickly if we're getting there too late. We need to get there on that attacker's first touch. When they've took their first touch and they've got their head down, by the time they've got their head back up, we're there ready to engage and say, right, this is going to be difficult for you to take me on. Same as when we're working as a unit, when the attackers are moving the ball from side to side or coming towards us, we're covering that ground quickly, we're getting across quickly, we're stepping quickly as a team as well to apply the pressure. And then high endurance levels. So we've got to be making sure that we can last for this long. So knowing when we're going to step, when we're going to drop, when we're going to hold, when we're getting across quickly as a team, when we're holding and making it compact, so that we're reducing the space for the attackers, and then knowing when we can win the ball back as well. So on the triggers, sometimes when we say about the pressing triggers, but you know, the back to goal, the mistake, a long pass, a bad first touch, so waiting for those moments as well, or it could be when the ball goes to a certain player. And then finally, our ABCs, so agility, balance, coordination, for when we're turning, when we're sliding as a unit, so we're changing direction all the time. We're able to see the player out there whilst focusing on the ball. We're able to turn quickly when they go inside to outside as well, so we've got to use that low body position at all times. And then finally, moving on to the social corner for this week, massive to be communicating with each other. So defenders to midfielders, midfielders to attackers, midfielders to the wide players, centre defenders to the fullbacks, goalkeeper to the centre backs, giving players instructions, telling people where players are, so where the winger is. The striker's coming on your shoulder, okay, he's coming on the blind side, he's going to make a running behind. So knowing when that ball's going to be played, where that attacker's going to be in relation to, the left back's told me that the right side of the attacker is playing on my right shoulder, so that means he's going to try and either come in front of me or he's going to run behind me. So when that centre midfielder tries to play the ball over the top, I know exactly where the striker's going to try and run. Okay, so I can try and focus on the ball whilst concentrating on where the man's run's going to be as well. Organisation as well is massive, so making sure that as a unit we are organised, we're all in nice and compact, we're preventing space through the lines, we're all stepping up as a team, we're all dropping as a team, and we're all holding as a team as well, because all it takes is one player not to do their job, to be a few yards out of position, and then there's space for the attackers to play into or to dribble into, which means they can create chances, which then means we've got to engage a lot quicker than what we might have hoped. And then finally, praising and supporting each other. So with defending, when we're winning balls, when we're in interceptions, when we're winning those second balls, making sure that we're giving the players who are winning it lots of support, because it's different to attackers. You know, you get lots of praise when you play a great pass, when you're dribbling past somebody, when you're having chances in front of goals, maybe putting a great cross in. With defending, it's a lot of nitty-gritty stuff. If our positioning is brilliant and our left back's tucking in nice and well, give them the support so they know, right, I know that I'm doing this for the team, I know that I'm doing my job. When midfielders are winning the second balls in midfield, the headers or the little loose balls and playing out to our wingers, that's fantastic play. We need that to be able to transition and counter-attack quickly. Okay, so moving into part 2 of this week's session, we're now moving to a more small-sided game for compact defending and defending as a unit. So we've still got our 2 teams of 8. Obviously, if you have less players, if you've got 15, you could maybe have a 3v3 and then a 4v4, and then same if you had less players as well. If you had 12 players plus your goalkeeper, or if you don't have a goalkeeper, you can use a coach, obviously, or a parent. You can just have three groups of 3. But what we've got with our 16, we've got our 4 groups of 4. So in terms of the setup, we've got 50 yards of depth, all split in 5 10-yard boxes, including the one for the goalkeeper, which is just part of the attacking zone when the ball gets into here. We've got 40 yards of width. So each zone has got a 10 by 40 box for the players to either attack or defending. So the aim for the Blues is, when the coach plays into the Blues, they are looking to play through the midfield unit into their attackers to then attack the back 4 and attempt to score. So the aim for the midfield unit is try and stop balls getting played through them. And then the aim for the defenders is stepping up with the ball as well. So when the attackers get the ball, we can come out of our box as soon as they receive it, not before they receive it. And then can we look to engage? Can we look to stop them scoring? Can we restrict the space in behind? Can we delay them and then look to engage? So with the midfielders in here, their position needs to be in relation to the ball. So know which player you're going to be closing down. We're not moving into the box, so they are unopposed. But if the ball moves to the left back here, the right midfielder is going to be in nice and tight, and then the rest are going to be restricting the space in behind. Whereas if this player stepped up too high in order to support sometimes, then the balls get played through. Okay, if the right midfielder's out here, he's showing them back inside where we've got players to support, and when the ball travels across, then we can form our triangle around that with our support this way, like that. Eventually, when the Blues do play through, then looking for the defenders to apply pressure and make it difficult for the attackers. Okay, so then our goalkeeper then becomes important as well with their communication. So they're telling them where the runners are going to be. If players are standing in an offside position, which they might be, so the centre-back knows he's in an offside position if the goalkeeper tells him, so that he can focus on the players that are in front. If the Reds win it back in here, they play straight into the midfield, who then look to attack, to dribble past or receive the ball past this zone here for a goal for themselves as well. So the play will start each time with the coach playing into the Blues. If the ball goes out behind the goal, then we let the Reds set and we go from there. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to the first progression for this part of the session. Okay, so moving into the first progression for this part of the session, we've now just made it 2 zones in the middle instead of 4. So we've got 4v4 in here and 4v4 in here. Okay, so it now means that the attacking team are now opposed when they first got possession here. So it means that the Reds can look to try and intercept it high, but also knowing when to just stay compact, when to stop balls going through. We don't want to step too high and risk getting played through too easily. We've got to wait for our moments. So we're still looking to restrict the space in behind as well and delay the attackers. So then it means that our Reds can step up as well. So if the defenders. So when the midfielders step up, the attackers are most likely going to step up as well, which means our Reds can step up. So then if they do play in to the attackers and we're too deep, we're then given the attackers space to run into, which means they can gather speed, they can gather momentum, and it's harder for us to defend. But if the ball gets played into them here and we're already nice and tight, okay, we're high up the pitch, we've covered that ground quickly, we're set for us, we're going to make it difficult for them to play in behind, we've restricted the space, can we look to delay them, and then when they start travelling, can we engage, win the ball back, play into our midfielders, who then look to score as well. But we can get more transitions in this area now, because if we play into the Reds and the Blues win it back, they can play instantly again. So it's a lot about the concentration, the awareness, where the ball is, okay? So our spatial awareness as well, our positional awareness. So if we play into the Reds in our midfield unit, don't just think, right, that's it, they're going to go score now, right? Can we get up high to support? So then if they do win the ball back, the Blues, it's going to be difficult for them to play into. Also now, when the Blues play into the attacking Blues, they are allowed to use these players back in here as well. So if this player here has got no options on the ball, the players are marked, he's getting pressured, they can play back into the Blues, which means then the midfield unit has got to be aware, because they can try and pinch the ball back, intercept in here, and then look to attack instantly. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to the final progression for this week's session. Okay, so now moving into our final progression for this week's session. We've now took out all the zones, so now it's just 50 by 40 box that we're working in, and it's an 8v8 scenario. Okay, so anybody can move anywhere. The same goal for the attackers is to score, the same goal for the Reds is to restrict the space, stay compact, and then when we win it back, can we look to get across the line to score? You could also put in scenarios. For the Reds, it could be that the 1-0 up in the game with 10 minutes to go. When they get the ball, what can they do with it? Because when the ball goes out to the side, it will be a throw-in. Can they look to score? But also, are we just going to stop the opposition from scoring? That's our main goal. We're going to drop deep to prevent any space in behind and restrict the opposition to just long shots. Or it could be a scenario where they're drawing 1-1 and we need to win. Can we stay compact but also step up and apply pressure to win the ball and go and score? Okay, so we want to introduce different types of scenarios, not just focusing on one little thing all the time. So this is where it's good to say to the Reds, okay, recognise when we can win the ball back, recognise when we need to drop a bit deeper when the attackers are coming towards us, and then look to engage as well. So we can try and stop the space in between the lines. That's one of our main things. We've got our goalkeeper as well, who can step up as well. So when they are trying to play in behind, we've got that option. With the offside rule as well, we can step as high as we want, okay? So what we're trying to do is apply pressure on the Blues to make it uncomfortable for them. And then when they do look to play through, if they do play through, right, now we're going to get bodies around the ball to try and win it back as quick as we can. We will now move into our final animation before concluding this week's session. Thanks for watching this week's session. For more content, follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. The links will be in the description below, and we'll see you next week for another Session Sunday.